What is up, everybody? My name is Christian Baker, and today we're talking about what I think is the best guitar ever made, my 1972 Gibson J45. Let's get into it. Touch on this really quick. I've been doing a lot of gear reviews for Front Street Music recently, and so I have to say, this is not for sale. This is my personal guitar that I bought from Front Street. It actually means a lot to me because this started my relationship with Front Street Music. Late winter, early spring of last year, I walked into Front Street Music. It's my local shop, so I'm there pretty frequently, and this was hanging on the wall. So I'm like, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? I'm going to play a few chords on it, just see what an old Gibson is like, and then put it back. And I fell in love with it. So me and the store owner, Aaron, made a deal. This became my favorite instrument I've ever owned, I've ever played, and that started this friendship that now has me doing these YouTube videos for Front Street. So thank you to Aaron, who has made all this possible with me owning this, doing this YouTube channel, and well, without further ado, let's start talking about this guitar. So before we really dive into why that specific guitar is my favorite, I think it would be nice to get a little bit of history on both Gibson and the J45. So we move over to my kitchen to sit in front of the computer and talk a little bit of history. In 1934, Gibson released their first jumbo guitar. This was to compete with the brand new Dreadnought from the big name Martin. It had this big, beautiful full sound, and Gibson at the time didn't really have anything that could compete. The jumbo was their answer to this problem. Over the next few years, they saw a few changes, and in 1942, to replace the inexpensive guitar of the J35, Gibson standardized the J45. This beautiful sunburst, and with a beautiful banner on it that said, "Only a Gibson is good enough." These are referred to nowadays as the Banner Gibsons. What made these Gibsons different from the Martin Dreadnoughts is that Martin went with a squared shoulder design, giving a much more punchy and full sound, where the Gibson went with a sloped shoulder, giving a much warmer sound and a little bit more scoop in the mid-range, working perfectly for singer-songwriters strumming along to their melodies. In the late 60s, Gibson was hurting. Acoustic sales were down, and Martin was blowing them out of the water. So, they did what they had to do. They moved their J45 to a more similar design as the Martin Dreadnought, giving it a 25.5-inch scale length, giving it square shoulders like all the Martin Dreadnoughts, and most people didn't really like it that much. By 1970, these guitars were considered the J45 Deluxe because you could still find some slope shoulder J45s and J50s coming out. Those became just the standard. If you wanted the nice guitar, you had to go with the Deluxe with the square shoulder. Now, like I said, a lot of people don't like these guitars, and I can see why. It's not the normal Gibson thing. The guitars, for the most part, weren't made that well. But if you can find one, you can find one in the haystack that's just fantastic. You'll love it for life. Right, you might be thinking to yourself, Christian, why are you spending so much time on the history of these guitars? And it's to kind of tell you the reason why people don't like these. Whether it be the oversized headstock, the volute on the back of the neck, longer scale length, squared off shoulders. It's not what people picture or hear when they think of a J45. So, why do I love this guitar? So, why do I love this guitar? Well, I think it takes 4 things to make a guitar really cool. Vibe, looks, playability, and sound. Right off the bat, I think this looks fantastic. It's got the Gibson look. Yes, it's squared shoulder and looks a little bit weird. I think it looks kind of different. And especially this one, the wear down here around the pick guard was there when I purchased it. Everything else, that's just been me playing it. Playing it at a few gigs, playing it at church, and just playing it around the house. It's getting loved. So for playability, that's where this is a little bit hard. Because somebody had put a pickup in here at some point and filed down the bridge pins here, and it sucked. I'm just going to say it flat out, it sucked. You could do your cowboy chords on the very low part of the neck. Anything above maybe the 4th or 5th fret was just unplayable. The action was way too low, the neck started bowing a little bit, and just, it wasn't taken care of. And in all honesty, I kind of got to it before Front Street could really start setting it up to make it play beautifully. So, they were helping me out. I had to do a little bit of work myself, and we got it working. It does have a pickup in it, by the way, so it can be played live. It has got the Anthem by L.R. Baggs, and I absolutely love it.
The power of our God, you shine in the shadow, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God.
Now, that kind of pulls into the sound. It's not the normal Gibson sound. And it's not a Martin sound, even though they're copying the square shoulders and the longer scale length, so what does it sound like? Now, you heard it earlier in a full band mix, and I think you guys should hear it by itself. What does the guitar sound like with nothing else around it? Today we are playing through a condenser mic by AKG, the P120. It doesn't color the sound all that much, so I think it's a very flat, plain, middle-of-the-road microphone that really lets whatever it picks up shine. Now, let's start with some strumming chords. Now I'm going to play around doing more arpeggiated things with a pick, and then go into a little bit of finger picking so we can really see how dynamic this guitar is. you're like me, you just heard that, and you don't think it's the best sounding guitar in the world. Now, hold up, Christian, how can you say that this is not the best sounding guitar, but you think it's the best guitar? Well, you gotta think of the combination of all of these things. It looks great. I've worked with it for so long that now it plays great. I think it sounds very, very good, even though it's not the best sounding I've ever heard. And then that fourth thing that's kind of hard to describe is vibe. Vibe is a hard thing to describe because you can't comprehend how cool something is to somebody. It's how cool it is to you. So this has got the Gibson logo up there, giving it some provenance. It's got the cool sunburst. It's got wear and tear both on the body and on the neck here, which I absolutely love. It's got this wacky pickguard, these square shoulders that nothing looks right on it, and for some reason that's cool to me. All that mixed with the sound, the playability, it's a vibey guitar, and because of all that mixed together, I think it's the best guitar. I'm honored that I get to own this, and I don't know, felt like I needed to share this with you. So now I want you guys to be able to hear what I do. Why I use this guitar, why I love it. I'm a singer-songwriter, I'm a worship leader, and I just strum a couple chords, I sing along. That's what I do. So I'm going to use the same AKG mic here to pick up both my voice and the guitar, and let's see how it sounds.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows? What's on the other side? Rainbows, visions, but only illusions. Rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I think they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me.
I don't think there's much more I can say. I think this is the best guitar I've ever played, I've ever heard, I've ever seen. I love this so much, and I know people disagree with me. This is just my opinion. I want to hear yours. Whether you think some high-end guitar that a celebrity owns, your favorite musician plays, even if you own it and you absolutely love it, I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, see ya.